Hello, it is 3 p.m. where I'm at, so good afternoon to you, and I hope everyone's doing well. We're touching base on the tsunami in Hawaii. It's not as bad as some people thought it was going to be. Thank the Lord for that, because when island nations get hit by a tsunami, because they're surrounded with water, it just seems to really be severe. Not to say that coastal areas don't get their share. They most certainly do, but particular island nations are more vulnerable, I think. But, let's go ahead and get this started. And also, if you would comment, like, share, and follow the channel, that would really help tremendously. People think, well, have somebody else will do it. Well, if you really like what you're hearing and you think that it's informative, now here's the thing. I don't seek to be overly entertaining. That's not what I do. I'm just relaying information, and there's no tilt to it. There's no politics to it. There's nothing. It's just information, and I can prove everything that I put in the videos. In fact, starting with my next video, I'm going to start putting links down in the description so that people can actually go to the places that I get my information from, and they can look that information up. So, I mean, not that a lot of people would, because they like to be told, hey, here's the information. They don't really particularly care to go get it themselves. I say if there's something that you feel you need to know, go find out. Just go find out. It's not that hard. Okay, so here we go. We'll get this first thing started here.
How big was the earthquake near Russia that triggered a tsunami alert for Hawaii? The earthquake that triggered tsunami alerts for Hawaii was an exceptionally powerful magnitude 8.8 undersea megathrust event off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, officially recorded by U.S. and Japanese seismologists early on July 30, 2025. It struck at a relatively shallow depth of around 19 to 20 kilometers, which significantly increased its potential to generate tsunami waves. Scientists noted it was the strongest seismic event in the region since the massive 1952 Kamchatka earthquake, an estimated magnitude 9.0. In summary, it was a magnitude 8.8 quake, shallow and powerful enough to prompt tsunami warnings across the Pacific, including in Hawaii. Did tsunami waves actually reach Hawaii, and how high were they? Yes. Tsunami waves did reach Hawaii following the magnitude 8.8 earthquake near Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula on July 29 to 30, 2025. The waves were recorded at multiple locations across the Hawaiian Islands. Wave heights recorded in Hawaii. Hilo, Big Island. 4.9 feet, 1.5 meters. Kahului, Maui. 4.0 feet, 1.2 meters. Honolulu, Oahu. 3.2 feet, 1.0 meter. Lihu, Kauai. 2.8 feet, 0.85 meter. These measurements reflect peak to trough wave height, not necessarily run-up height on land.
Run-up height on the land is how high is the wave as it's coming onto the land. And as it travels on the land, it will get smaller. But things that are like 4 or 5 feet tall, well, that's just a good surfing wave. So thankfully, they didn't get any bigger than that. And by the time they hit land, they were probably not very big at all.
The waves arrived in multiple surges over several hours, consistent with typical tsunami behavior. In some areas, strong currents and surges flooded coastal roads and beaches, though major damage was avoided, partly thanks to early warnings and evacuations. Advisory status. A tsunami warning was issued shortly after the quake but was later downgraded to an advisory once initial waves proved moderate in height. Officials cautioned people to stay off beaches and away from harbors even after the largest waves passed, due to lingering surges. Is it safe to return to the beach in Hawaii now? Yes. Hawaii authorities have declared that it is now safe to return to evacuated areas, but caution remains in place. Status update and what it means. The tsunami warning issued for Hawaii was officially downgraded to a tsunami advisory by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, PTWC, late on July 29, 2025. All evacuation orders have been lifted statewide, and residents and visitors were permitted to return home by 11:05 p.m. HST on July 29. An advisory means that strong currents, fluctuating sea levels, and flooding in coastal areas, harbors, and beaches remain possible hazards particularly pertinent to swimmers, boaters, and people near shoreline infrastructure.
When I'm talking about currents, it's important to understand that if the land is shaped properly under the water, what can happen is the water can come in and then be swished toward a central strip, and it will go out, and there will be more powerful current going out than there is coming in. Now that can haul somebody out to sea, and or it can haul them under, and never to be seen or heard from again. Unfortunately, it has happened, but these are called rip tides or rip currents, and the term is interchangeable. But that's the concern for that.
What happened? Wave activity and reports. Authorities confirmed tsunami waves reached 4 to 6 feet, crest to trough, in parts of Hawaii, including Kahului.
Crest to trough. Crest to trough is where the wave curls over. That's the crest. And the trough is the lowest point between waves. So that's crest to trough.
Maui and Hilo, Big Island. Some reports noted up to 5.7 feet at Kahului, and others described an 11-foot amplitude drop and surge at Kahului Harbor earlier in the event. No reports of major structural damage or serious injuries across the island so far. Bottom line, is it safe now? Evacuation zones. Lifted statewide since July 29 evening. Beach/beachfront access. Allowed, but avoid entering the water. Ongoing advisory. Yes, report strong currents. Risk of additional waves. Tsunami can come in multiple surges. Caution advised for hours to come. Beaches and harbors remain open, but people are strongly advised to stay out of the water. The tsunami advisory isn't canceled until officials confirm there's no further threat. Strong currents and fluctuating sea levels can still pose serious hazards even after the biggest waves have passed. Recommendation. It's permissible to return to coastal areas and beaches, but do not enter the water. Continue following local updates from Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, HIEMA, PTWC, and county officials. Expect irregular tides and currents. Avoid docks, piers, boats, and marinas until the advisory is fully lifted.
The reason you stay off of the docks and the piers and don't get in a boat out in the water is there's a phenomenon known as a rogue wave. Rogue waves they come from unknown sources. They just show up. They're large enough to do damage, and then they're gone. Now, rogue waves you can get more than one going separate directions. Now, sailors will tell you that two rogue waves, if they're close enough together and they're going separate directions, and one hits one side of a boat and one hits another one, it can either spin that boat and pull it down, or it can, if the boat's long enough and thin enough, it'll rip the boat in two. Even a cargo vessel is in danger of that. So if you ever get curious, look for an old sailor. They'll tell you.
Refrain from planning beach activities like swimming, surfing, or boating until authorities say it's fully safe. Are there any effects from local seismic activity or volcanic unrest in Hawaii, such as at Kilauea? Here's the latest from the U.S. Geological Survey's Hawaiian Volcano Observatory regarding Kilauea and local seismic activity, as of their most recent update on July 29, 2025, at 9:26 a.m. HST. Kilauea Volcano and Local Seismic Summary. Seismic activity and ground deformation. Seismicity levels remain very low across the East Rift Zone and Southwest Rift Zone, with no significant earthquakes reported in the past 24 hours. No elevated ground deformation has been detected, and sulfur dioxide emissions in the rift zones are below detection limit.
Okay, sulfur dioxide. When you get close to a volcano, if you get close enough to the rim, and or even if you're just downwind from the volcano and it's spewing these gases, you can smell it. It's very much like it's brimstone basically, and it smells like burning sulfur. Problem with this, if it's strong enough, it can do you damage. If there's not enough oxygen, because of these gases, you can actually asphyxiate because of it. I think those are probably rare occasions, simply because I don't think that gets concentrated enough for that in a lot of places, unless you're really close to a volcano. That's why volcanologists, when they go up on a rim, they wear those silver suits and they carry air tanks, and the whole deal. Well, the smart ones carry air tanks. Some of them don't. That's a little crazy in my opinion.
Current volcanic status. The volcano is at alert level, watch, with aviation color code, orange indicating active observations.
Okay, if you're looking at topographical maps where there are volcanoes that have these activity ratings, orange means that they're actively monitoring that area because they believe there might be a problem.
The ongoing eruptive cycle, currently episode 29, paused around July 20th, though inflation at the summit continues slowly, and elevated degassing persists. While no fresh lava flows are visible, gas pistoning events, intermittent pulses of volcanic gas, occur every 3 to 5 minutes. Hazards. Volcanic hazards remain confined to within Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, including VOG, volcanic smog, downwind, from sulfur dioxide emissions. Pele's hairfine volcanic glass that can be carried by winds and irritate skin, eyes, and contaminate rainwater catchment systems. Rockfalls or ground cracking along the caldera rim.
VOG. V-O-G. There's a term that a lot of people hadn't heard. I didn't know it until I actually researched this, and it made me giggle. But it's actually it's a real thing. So I was caught off guard by that.
Bottom line, is there any unusual local activity? No, there are no unusual seismic events linked to magma movement in the immediate area. No newly reported earthquakes or rift zone deformation suggest elevated volcanic risk beyond the ongoing summit activity. The eruption remains episodic and moderate, with no imminent large-scale eruptive episodes underway. What you might watch for. Updates from the Hawaii Volcano Observatory, especially if seismicity or deformation ramps up. Local wind conditions if VOG becomes more concentrated downwind. USGS volcano updates or volcano notification service notices for changes to Kilauea's behavior. What actions were taken in Hawaii during the tsunami? During the tsunami event triggered by the magnitude 8.8 earthquake near Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula on July 29 to 30th, 2025, Hawaii implemented several emergency actions to protect residents and visitors. Here's a breakdown of what happened. Emergency actions taken in Hawaii. 1. Statewide tsunami warning issued. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issued a tsunami warning shortly after the quake, 4:45 p.m. HST, July 29th. All coastal counties were alerted via Emergency Alert System, TV, radio, phone notifications, and outdoor tsunami sirens. 2. Coastal evacuations ordered. Residents and tourists in low-lying coastal areas were instructed to evacuate to higher ground. Traffic congestion occurred.
See videos where people were actually getting on top of a building. If that tsunami had come in and it wasn't just 4 to 6 feet high, there's a very good chance that it could have been big enough to wipe that building completely off its foundation and crumble it to the ground. So if you're in an area and you get a tsunami warning, just head for higher ground. Don't get on top of a building. For heaven's sake, don't climb a tree. That's just really asking for trouble. Do not take most traveled roads to get away, as there will probably end up being some sort of traffic congestion, and then the water comes in and people are trapped in their cars, and then that's a problem.
Especially in Maui and Oahu, as thousands left shoreline zones. 3. Flights paused and ports secured. Some flights were grounded or delayed at airports in Hilo, Honolulu, and Kauai. Harbors and marinas were shut down to prevent boat damage or accidents during wave arrival. Vessels were moved out to sea, where tsunami impact is minimal.
There are people who say, quick, bring the boats in, because there's a tsunami coming. No. If you want to keep your boat in one piece and above the surface of the water, get it out away from the land that the tsunami is heading towards. And try your very, very best that if you actually get caught and the wave is coming at you and you're in a boat, put your nose toward the wave and just gun the boat. Because what's going to happen is you're either going to go up and over it, or you're going to go up and right through the crest of it. So you'll be momentarily almost underwater, but there won't be any time for the water to swamp the boat. So that's how you get through the big wave. Now, you've probably heard it in movies. There's a storm and tidal wave coming. Put the nose into the wind. Well, you know what? That's great. But if the wind and the tsunami are moving in different directions, pick the tsunami. Go over or through it. Don't try to play the wind. It doesn't work very well. I know. I've never been in a tsunami, but I've been in some pretty big waves. When you're out in the middle of Lake Superior on a boat, there's some pretty big waves when the rough weather comes in. And you always put your nose into the waves. So I don't understand why people don't do their research before they go boating, but believe it or not, some don't.
4. Shelters opened. Temporary emergency shelters were opened at schools, civic centers, and churches on every island. Supplies were distributed by the Red Cross and local civil defense agencies. 5. Public safety announcements issued. Officials, including the governor and county mayors, held press briefings and provided frequent live updates via social media, TV, and radio. Warnings emphasized that tsunami danger includes multiple surges, not just the first wave. Aftermath.
That's important. In a tsunami situation, it's not always going to be just one wave. There could be some smaller waves at first, and then a very large wave, and then smaller waves afterwards. So, and any combination thereof. So, just because the big one's done, don't believe for a second it's over. Always be cautious.
Recovery and advisory downgrade. 9:30 p.m. HST, July 29th. Tsunami waves reached Hawaii, 4 to 5 feet inch places like Hilo, Kauai. 11:05 p.m. HST. Evacuation orders lifted statewide. July 30th morning. PTWC downgraded warning to tsunami advisory. July 30th to 31st. Officials surveyed damage, no major injuries or structural losses reported. Summary. Hawaii's tsunami preparedness systems worked effectively, including fast alerts and sirens, organized evacuation protocols, civil coordination and traffic control, use of private roads to assist public needs, timely updates from PTWC, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, and local county offices. How long could the tsunami threat last? The tsunami threat can last for several hours, even up to 24 hours or more, depending on the strength of the earthquake, the shape of the ocean floor, and the geography of affected coastlines. For the July 29th to 30th, 2025 event in Hawaii, the first waves reached Hawaii around 9:30 p.m. HST. The official evacuation orders were lifted by 11:05 p.m. HST, but the tsunami advisory remained in effect into the following day, July 30th. Officials stated that hazardous wave activity and strong currents could persist for up to 12 to 24 hours, even after the initial waves had passed. Why the risk lasts so long? Multiple wave sets. Tsunamis often come in a series of waves, sometimes hours apart. The largest wave is often not the first. Strong coastal currents. Even after the main wave, dangerous rip currents and unexpected surges can persist. Reflected energy. Waves can...
There's that rip currents that I was talking about. I forgot that was in here. But yeah, they just mentioned the rip currents. They show up, they pull you out or pull you down, and then you're gone. Horrible thing to think of, but it's got to keep it in your mind all the time when you're around the water like that.
Bounce off islands or continental shelves and return, prolonging turbulence. Tide interactions. Tsunami waves interacting with high tides can amplify the effect hours after the event start.
Now, it's talking about waves bouncing off of islands. They can actually bounce off of the land and then go out and hit something else. I know that sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. If you ever take a container of water, give it a little slosh. You can watch the water. It's called they call it sloshing, but it's actually, if you look at it, it's the water bouncing off of the sides of the container. That's the slosh.
When is it truly over? The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center and local emergency agencies will monitor tide gauges and deep ocean buoys. Wait for at least 6 hours of no significant wave activity before issuing an all clear. Provide a formal cancellation of the advisory when it's safe to resume normal shoreline activity. As of July 30th evening, most areas in Hawaii had seen the tsunami advisory downgraded or canceled, but some residual wave activity was still being reported in parts of the Pacific.
Even after you don't see the tsunami anymore, that doesn't mean the event is over. So it's so important to be cautious. You always take steps to stay safe until the people who study them, they have the buoys out there that monitor the currents. They have the tide markers that monitor the tides coming in, and they can tell you, the tide's getting kind of high, kind of quick. There could be another wave coming. We have current activity, so stay away from the beaches. If you live on the beach, get out of your house and get away from here. And that's another thing. Don't try to wait out a tsunami in your house. Because if the tsunami is big enough, you won't have a house. And then the world won't have a you. So if you get the announcement, get out of there. Grab the cat and a suitcase full of clothes and whatever cash you got, and just get out. In fact, I always tell people, if there's a chance that something's going to happen, you might have to leave your home, pack what's called a bug-out bag. I have one for medical emergencies because there have been a couple of times where I've had to call and get a ride to the hospital in a quick hurry. Won't go into detail on that, but it's just, believe me, a bug-out bag is incredibly valuable. It's got things like, it's got an extra cell phone charger in it. It's got clothing. It's got socks and things. It also has documents that I might need, contact information for people that I know, just in case. So, bug-out bag, invaluable. And if you have firearms in your house, keep one in your bug out bag with extra ammunition. That way you don't have to worry that if you have to grab that bag and go, there's a disaster coming, or there's some sort of terrible thing happening where you have to get out fast. Then you know you're going to be prepared. Now also, in some cases, depending on what the disaster might end up being, throw things in there like things with a little bit of salt in them, like beef jerky, good protein source. Cans of food, not too many because cans are heavy. Excuse me. Also do soft packaged foods that with a good shelf life. Got those little plastic canisters of soups and things. So you and blankets, just in case, blankets. Flashlights, batteries. So it's going to be kind of big. Mine's pretty good size. It's like this. So it's got a lot of room in there. It's got a lot of pockets too. If you've ever played Fortnite, my backpack looks just like that. That's my backpack. The level 3 backpack, that's mine. But that's important too. And always, 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 always stay together. Don't ever split up. If something's going to happen, you want to make sure that you have everybody in the family together so that you can keep track of each other and you know each other is safe. If you don't live together, that's a little more difficult, but always have a rally point where you're going to meet. So tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes, flash floods, forest fires, all dangers that you would have to bug out for. Bug out bag. So I'm just going to leave you with that, and I'm going to thank you for your time, and God bless you, and as always, God bless America.